The storm outside had just begun to whisper when a sudden violent pounding shook the front gate, loud enough to make the paintings on the hallway walls tremble. Adrian Vale, once praised as the youngest millionaire in the city, froze mid-step. Something in that sound felt wrong, too urgent, too sharp, too deliberate. He had spent countless nights awake finalizing contracts, studying reports, fighting to keep his company alive, but tonight felt different. It felt like danger had been waiting for this exact moment to strike. Before he could take another step, voices thundered through the darkness. "Open the gate. Police." Adrian's heartbeat stuttered. At this hour? Without warning? He rushed toward the stairs, his steps echoing through the marble hall like distant drumbeats. He didn't even realize his hands were shaking until he reached the second step and saw the blue lights washing over the windows. His mind raced. Had someone broken in? Had something happened to his infant daughter sleeping in the room down the hall? Then the door burst open. Officers stormed inside, their flashlights slicing through the dim mansion like blades. Adrian staggered back, shielding his eyes as he demanded an explanation, but no one gave him even a glance. The world seemed to tilt, spinning faster and faster. At the top of the stairs, his wife Maya appeared, wrapped in a robe, her face strangely calm, too calm for someone whose home was being invaded. "Adrian Vale," an officer barked, "you are under arrest for corporate fraud, falsified documents, and deliberate financial misconduct." The words did not make sense. They felt like a nightmare forcing itself into reality. "What? No, there must be a mistake. Maya, tell them. Call our lawyer." But Maya's eyes held no fear, no confusion. Only a cold, distant sadness he had never seen before. For a moment, Adrian forgot how to breathe. Something in her gaze told him this wasn't sudden. This wasn't unexpected. This had been coming. As his wrists were pulled back and the cold metal cuffs locked around them, Adrian tried to turn toward the nursery, his daughter's room, but the officers blocked him. He couldn't see her. He couldn't protect her. The sting of helplessness cut deeper than any accusation. Flashes from waiting cameras exploded outside the gates, creating a storm brighter than lightning. Reporters shouted his name, twisting his life into chaos before he could utter a single word. And among the noise as Adrian was pushed into the patrol car, he saw something that froze him completely. Maya lifting her phone to her ear, her voice soft, steady, almost rehearsed. "It's done," she said. The cell door slammed shut behind him like a final judgment, echoing through the narrow hallway long after the guard walked away. Adrian sat on the cold bench, his mind spinning in fragments he couldn't piece together. He kept replaying Maya's voice, calm, steady, unforgiving. "It's done." Those two words cut deeper than any accusation the officers had thrown at him. But before he could make sense of it, the fluorescent lights flickered and footsteps approached. A guard tossed a thick file onto the metal table. "Everything is in here," he muttered, almost bored. "Your signature is all over the fraud documents." Then he walked away without waiting for Adrian's protest. Adrian opened the file with trembling hands. Page after page showed transactions he didn't remember approving, contracts he didn't recall signing, authorizations he had never seen before. Yet every scribble of ink carried his name, perfectly forged, perfectly timed, perfectly deadly. A sharp dread pressed into his chest. Someone had set him up. Someone close. Someone with access. Images from the last few months flashed like lightning. Cancelled meetings, missing reports, unexplained glitches in the accounting system. And then one face floated above the rest. Julian Hartman, his longtime business partner. The man who joked with him, who built the company with him, who once toasted to their brotherhood. A sickening thought crept in. Was Maya part of it too? He shook his head, but the doubt lingered like a shadow that refused to fade. He leaned back against the cold wall, fighting the panic rising in his chest. The world believed he was guilty. His company was collapsing. His reputation was destroyed. And worst of all, his baby girl, Arya, was still inside that house with people he could no longer trust. The hook sank deeper when, through the tiny cell window, he saw a news report flickering on a distant TV. Maya appeared on camera, her eyes glistening just enough for sympathy. "I'm devastated," she said softly. "I just want what's best for our child." Adrian's breath caught. Our child? No. His daughter didn't need sympathy. She needed protection. And suddenly he realized the cruel truth. The real danger wasn't prison. The real danger was waiting for his baby at home. Back at the mansion, the silence felt strangely heavy, as if every corner of the house knew a secret no one dared to speak. Arya's soft cries echoed from the nursery, but no one rushed to comfort her. The staff had either been sent home or fired the previous week, something Adrian hadn't questioned at the time. Now it made sense. Someone wanted the house empty. Someone wanted control. Only one person remained. Lena. The quiet maid who had worked in the mansion for barely a year, always moving like a shadow, always polite, always gentle with the baby. She wasn't supposed to be on duty tonight, yet she stood in the hallway, frozen, clutching the laundry basket to her chest as officers marched through the house. She had watched them drag Adrian away, watched Maya's expression remain icy calm, watched the tension in the air slowly twist into something darker. When the last patrol car drove off, Lena slipped upstairs. Aria's cries grew louder, more desperate. The nursery door was slightly open, and what Lena saw inside made her heart clench. Maya stood over the crib, not comforting, not soothing, just staring, her eyes blank and distant. As if she were trying to calculate what this tiny child meant to her new plans. Madam? Should I feed her? Lena whispered. Maya didn't look up. No. Leave her. She'll sleep eventually. But she hasn't eaten in hours, Lena said softly, trying not to tremble. Maya finally turned. Her smile was sharp, cold enough to make Lena's breath catch. I said leave her. Lena backed away, but something inside her twisted. Arya wasn't just hungry, she was frightened. Maya's indifference wasn't normal. Something dangerous was unfolding, and the baby was caught in the middle of it. Later that night, as Lena stood by the kitchen window, she overheard a phone call, Maya's voice low and urgent. He's locked up. And once the document's clear, we move to step 2. The baby will be taken care of. Lena's blood froze. Taken care of? What did that mean? Why would anyone talk about a child like that? Fear flooded her, but so did something stronger, courage. If Adrian wasn't here to protect his daughter, then someone had to. Someone who saw the truth. Someone who cared. That someone was her. And at that moment Lena made a silent promise. No matter what danger came, she would not allow this innocent baby to disappear into the darkness swallowing the Vale family. Long after the house went dark, Lena remained wide awake, her heart pounding every time the floor creaked or the wind brushed against the windows. She couldn't shake the memory of Maya's cold voice. The baby will be taken care of. Those words replayed again and again, each time sounding more threatening. Arya slept in her crib now, unaware of the storm swirling around her tiny world. Lena sat beside her, gently rocking the crib with trembling fingers. She knew she was crossing a line. Servants weren't supposed to question their employers, but this wasn't about rules anymore. This was about a child who had no one left to fight for her. A sudden click echoed from the hallway, slow, deliberate footsteps. Lena quickly dried her tears and stood, pretending to organize the toys. Maya appeared at the doorway, her face half hidden in shadows. You're still awake? She asked, her tone unreadable. Lena forced a smile. Just making sure the baby sleeps well. Maya stepped closer, her heels tapping softly against the wooden floor. You care too much, Lena. It's not your child. I know, madam, Lena whispered. I just want to help. But Maya's eyes hardened. Help by doing your job. Nothing more. She lingered a few seconds longer, as if assessing whether Lena was a threat, then turned and disappeared into the hallway. When the door closed, Lena let out the breath she'd been holding. Something was terribly wrong. Maya was planning something. And Lena had no proof, just fear, instinct, and the faint memory of Maya's chilling smile. Hours later, while cleaning the downstairs office, Lena found a folder lying half-hidden beneath some papers. Curiosity tugged at her. She opened it, and her blood ran cold. It was filled with legal forms, guardianship documents, financial statements, travel permissions, all listing Maya as the sole guardian of Arya Vale. There was no mention of Adrian anywhere. It was as if he didn't exist. But the last page was the one that made her knees weaken. A scheduled appointment for the following morning. Destination: an undisclosed child facility 2 hours away. Lena's hands shook violently. They were taking the baby away. Tomorrow. She snapped the folder shut, panic gripping her chest. Arya would disappear before Adrian could even speak to a lawyer. Maya wanted full control of the company, the money, the child. And Lena was the only person who knew the truth. As dawn approached, a terrifying realization sank in. If she didn't act now, Arya would be gone forever. But saving the baby meant running. Hiding. Going against powerful people who could ruin her life with a single lie. Still, when she heard Arya's soft whimper upstairs, the fear inside Lena shifted into something fierce, something brave. She knew what she had to do. Tonight, she would take the baby and escape. But the moment she opened that door, there would be no turning back. Lena waited until the last possible moment, listening for silence. Real silence, the kind that settled only when everyone in the house had truly fallen asleep. Her pulse thudded in her throat as she tiptoed toward the nursery. Every step felt heavier than the last, as if the house itself was warning her not to continue. But she kept moving, powered by one thought: if she didn't save Arya now, no one ever would. The nursery door creaked softly as she pushed it open. Arya lay curled in her crib, tiny fingers wrapped around the corner of her blanket. Lena's chest tightened. This child had no idea what danger hovered over her. Gently, she lifted Arya into her arms, rocking her just enough to keep her calm. The baby stirred but didn't cry, almost as if she too sensed the urgency of the night. Lena grabbed the small bag she had packed earlier with baby clothes, formula, and a few essentials. Her hands shook so much she nearly dropped it. She paused to breathe, to steady herself, but every second counted. If Maya woke up, it would be over. If anyone caught her, the blame would fall entirely on her, and Arya would vanish into the hands of people with dark intentions. She crept down the staircase, holding Arya close to her chest. The house felt colder than ever, shadows stretching across the walls like fingers trying to pull her back. When she reached the bottom step, she froze. A faint click echoed from somewhere near the living room, like a door unlocking. Her breath hitched. Someone was awake. Slowly, quietly, she stepped backward into the nearest storage closet. She pressed her ear to the wooden door. Maya's voice drifted faintly through the hall, tense and irritated. "Yes. I told you, everything will be finished tomorrow. The child will be handed over and then we move on." Lena clutched Arya tighter. This was the confirmation she needed, and the fear that made every part of her want to run before her courage snapped in half. When Maya finally walked away, Lena slipped out of the closet and made her way to the back door. She unlocked it with trembling fingers and stepped into the cold night air. Moonlight washed over the garden path, guiding her toward the staff exit at the edge of the property. But as she reached the gate, her heart dropped. A black car was parked just outside. A man leaned against it, speaking on his phone. He wasn't a guard. He wasn't a neighbor. And he wasn't friendly. Lena recognized him from earlier. He was the same man who had visited Maya 2 days ago, the one who wore a suit yet never smiled. If he saw her, everything would end. She ducked behind the wall, her heart beating so loudly she feared Arya would hear it. The man's voice carried through the quiet night, each word slicing into her courage. "We take the child at sunrise. No delays. Sunrise. Just a few hours away." Lena's hands trembled, but she forced herself to stand. She couldn't wait. She couldn't hide. She had to go. Now. With Arya in her arms, Lena slipped into the alley behind the gate and disappeared into the darkness, not knowing where she would go next, only that she had to keep moving to protect the innocent life pressed against her chest. The night swallowed her, but so did a new fear. If they discovered the baby missing, Maya wouldn't rest until she found them. The cold night air stung Lena's face as she ran, her steps uneven on the cracked pavement, but she didn't slow down, not even for a second. Arya whimpered quietly against her shoulder, sensing the tension, the fear, the danger pressing in from every direction. Lena whispered softly, "It's okay. I've got you," even though she had no idea where she would go or what she would do next. She only knew one truth: turning back meant losing the baby forever. She reached the dimly lit main road and scanned for help. No taxis. No people. Just the hum of distant streetlights flickering like weak beacons. Her heart twisted. She couldn't go to the police. They were the ones who dragged Adrian away. She couldn't go to relatives. Maya had influence, money, and dangerous friends. Suddenly, every corner of the city felt like a trap waiting to close around them. Then she remembered someone. The only person who had ever treated her with kindness since she arrived in the city, Mrs. Duarte, an elderly woman who ran a small bakery 2 streets away. She trusted her. She listened. Maybe she would help. Lena hurried toward the bakery, her breath turning into clouds in the frigid air. When she finally reached the back door, she knocked softly, afraid that a louder noise would draw unwanted attention. After a moment, the door opened, revealing the warm glow of the kitchen and Mrs. Duarte's startled eyes. "Lena? Child, what on earth? Why do you have the baby?" Tears spilled before Lena could stop them. "Please? I can't explain everything now, but she's in danger. They're taking her away in the morning. I had to get her out. Please. I need help." The older woman didn't hesitate. She stepped aside and ushered them in, locking the door tightly behind them. She wrapped a blanket around Lena's shoulders, then gently lifted Arya into her arms, rocking her with a tenderness that made Lena's heart ache. You did the right thing, Mrs. Duarte whispered. Now tell me everything. Lena explained in trembling pieces. Maya's indifference, the strange documents, the phone calls, the man waiting outside the house. Mrs. Duarte listened with a grave expression, her eyes darkening with each detail. They won't stop, the woman murmured. People like that don't give up when money is involved. Lena swallowed hard. I know. That's why I need to tell Adrian. He has to know his daughter is safe. But he's in jail, child. I'll find a way, Lena said, her voice unexpectedly firm. He deserves to know the truth. At dawn, when the first rays of light crept through the windows, Lena wrapped Arya securely in her arms. Mrs. Duarte handed her a small envelope with bus fare, food, and a note. Go to the city detention building, she said softly. If you can't get to Adrian, give this to the public defender. He'll listen. Lena nodded, her courage strengthened by the woman's faith in her. She opened the back door but froze. 2 black cars were parked across the street. Men in dark coats stepped out, scanning the neighborhood with sharp eyes. They're here, Lena whispered. Mrs. Duarte's expression turned fierce. Then go through the alley. Don't look back. Lena ran again, clutching Arya close as footsteps echoed behind her. But even as fear clawed at her, a strange hope lit her chest. She wasn't running alone anymore. She was running for Adrian. For the child. For the truth. And somewhere behind bars, Adrian sat on the cold bench, staring at the tiny window in his cell as if he could sense something shifting far beyond the walls. He whispered his daughter's name. And in the distance, Lena whispered back, I'll get her to you. I promise. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning.